Welcome to Rawlins, Wyoming, and another photo adventure with these guys. So why are we in the windy state of Wyoming, and of all places, Rawlins? Well, because of the building right behind me. The Wyoming State Prison, the Frontier Prison to be exact. So the very first place I would recommend you go when you come to the Frontier Prison in Wyoming is go check out the free area. This free area is a little mini museum on the building itself. You have information on prisoners, you have information on means of execution, which at this prison there was two means. You either died by the gas chamber or you died by hanging. The area itself is free of charge to check out. There's tons of information. There's prison artwork, just a load of stuff that you can go look at. I've sped this up for the sake of time, but you guys get the idea. It's a lot of information and it's all free. How can you beat that? Free. This was our very knowledgeable tour guide. The tour is going to cost you $12 per person, and they start the tour off in the free part of the museum.
The man was told to step onto the platform. And we did so. We pushed down a plank of wood, opened the valve, and let the water drain from the bucket. And stand there for a minute to a minute and a half and listen to the water drain away beneath it. Look at just a second.
That'd be a long time. Once they had stepped on there, could they step back on?
Well, it could have, but there were two guards up top. The prison opened in December of 1901. We shut down September of 1981. And over those 80 years, about 13,500 inmates came in straight through the doorway right here. 11 of those inmates were women, and we kept the women up the stairs behind the barn doors at the very top. We only kept the women here until 1909, though. Decided then it was too costly and too much of a hassle to try to keep the men and women separate. So we started shipping female inmates out to York, Nebraska and Canyon City, Colorado. And also the stairs on the very top floor was the original chapel. And every Sunday the men had a choice. You could go upstairs and attend the church service, or go down to the dungeon and stay there for the rest of the day. Outside guards escorting the inmate in would pass through their guns and weaponry, and we'd store all that in the white gun cabinet over there in the corner. And also in the gun cabinet is the chart where we kept track of where all of our inmates were at all times. Top line does indeed say fish. That is a technical term for someone who's never been in prison before. So as far as I know, you folks would all be fish. And also on the walls, it put up some of our favorite faces, including all 11 of our female inmates. Annie Bruce, on the far right side of the corner here, was our last female inmate. She came to us in 1908 on a 4-year term for manslaughter. Killed her father with a poisoned plum pie. In a confession, she said she had this uncontrollable urge to kill someone, could not resist it. So she took some rat poison, poured it in the pie, and fed it to her father. Served a year of sentence out here, and then 1909, we shipped her down to Canyon City, and she finished out her term down there. But once she was released from prison, she did go and have a family, We've heard from her descendants who claim it wasn't Annie who killed her father, it was her mother. So Annie just took the fall for it. The next one I'll tell you about is on the back wall over here. His name was Stanley Hudson. Now, Stanley came to us 4 different times, but because he used a different name every time he was booked, he was never caught as a repeat offender. Did not figure out that all 4 of these men were the same person until after the prison had closed. While I was in here, Stanley wrote a diary. He left it here anonymously. We found his diary, and through a lot of research, figured out that only one man could be an event in there, and finally connected the 4 faces up here. We have published his diary exactly as he wrote it. It's the green book I discovered. Called it The Sweet Smell of Sagebrush. We do have it available in the gift shop, and it's where we get a lot of our stories on the tour from. And one of my favorite stories out of there is of this man right over here, Henry Edmondson. Henry was one of our first inmates, one of the most difficult inmates we ever had to deal with around here. No matter how badly or how often he was punished, he absolutely refused to do any work. If they ever got him out to the factory, he'd just take the hall pass available for the inmates, toss it in the yard, and go back to his cell. And as you can see in this photograph next to the book here, Henry was also one of the only men ever allowed to wear a full beard. We did try to shave him once. The guards dragged him down to the barber shop, where he told the barber, "If you shave me, you will never shave another man." They took Henry back to his cell unshaven, searched his cell, found a 10-inch blade and a heavy club inside, so we kind of just left him alone about the beard after that. I found him so tired of putting up with him. In 1915, the governor pardoned him completely on the condition he left Wyoming and never returned. So Henry's the only man ever paroled to Wyoming for bad behavior. This right here is our punishment pole. If an inmate needs to be disciplined, they'd be brought in here, handcuffed to the pole, and whipped with rubber hoses because they do not leave marks. And that was practiced legally as a form of punishment all the way up until 1930. I'll give you that. This is page 1, our original cell block. First opened up in here with 104 cells, no electricity or running water inside the cell. Each one here is 5 feet by 7. If we're overcrowded, we'd end up having to throw 2 men into each cell on bunk beds. So pretty tight fit inside. Locks originally in here were skeleton key. We figured out pretty quickly the inmates could pick these open very easily. So in 1904, we switched to this system called the Johnson bar. And just like that, every cell in the row is unlocked. Folks can look around inside here. Get an idea just how tight the cells really are. Good, welcome.
Never gonna complain about a toilet again.
Can you imagine?
No.
This would suck so bad. You'd be like,
And if there was 2 of you in here on bunk beds.
Now heating was an issue for us here. At first all we had were pot-belly stoves along the wall. That really does nothing for the size of the building we got. The best the man could hope for was about 20 degrees warmer inside than it was outside. And we do get below 0 pretty regularly during winter around here. So the guys be wearing their winter coats even to sleep. 1922, we finally switched to the steam pipes in the walls. That's what we used as heating until we closed in 81. But even with that, the best the men got was about 50 degrees inside during winter. So when we first opened the library, we had a more complete law library than University of Wyoming. Guys want to be able to research their appeals. This is also one of the only rooms in the entire prison that has carpet in it. So a little bit more comfortable than the concrete everywhere else. And the bottom section of the paint job with all the colors and designs was all done by an inmate. And got this number for us right on the wall over here to remember him by. Then as we come down the hallway here, see the most interesting part of his paint job? Our smiley faces along the right-hand wall. Because he sometimes have a good day and sometimes he was having a bad day. You can see along the wall here, we did have proper heating in this building with the heating ducts. Proper cooling in the summer as well. Open up all the windows and get a nice cool breeze going through. And the first 4 cells were originally solitary confinement. Due to the solid steel plating in the doors, you'd be locked inside completely in the dark. Sentence was up to 1 week inside here, and we'd lock you in with nothing but a blanket and a bucket.
So was these things put in after the fact then?
Yep.
Okay.
Now, only let you to ever see while you're in here is when they empty your bucket a couple times a day, or when they open up the little window to feed you. And you've got bread and water only 3 times a day over here.
Wow.
However, figured out pretty quickly, these were not working as a form of punishment. Despite how horrible it may seem inside, the men in A block were getting in trouble on purpose to be locked in the solitary over here. Or guess what?
Warmer.
Yep.
Or work.
Over here it was warm and it was quiet. So these are pretty nice vacations from living in A block. Cooking was always done by trustees. It's pretty much the best job you get in the prison. It's always warm in here, unlike an A block. And once in a while you can slip yourself a bit of food when the guards aren't looking. But while the men are in here, this is what you're given to eat off of. What's the problem with that?
You could be
Weapon.
sharing with it.
Metal is a horrible idea in prison. These are great weapons in more ways than one. As for the paintings on all the walls in here, this is the man responsible. His name was Arthur E. Orcutt. Came to us in 1955. Before coming to prison, he lost his left hand in a factory accident. In a working prison though, everyone had to do some kind of job in here. Warden found out that Orcutt was a pretty good artist, so commissioned him to do all of these. And there are 2 paintings he did here that are very special. If you follow me on this way, I'll show you the first one. And as we get down here, you keep your eyes on the big 4 sheep in the middle pane. Follow me all around this way. What you're looking for should appear the sheep are turning their heads to keep their eyes open. And welcome to death row. We have 6 cells here. 3 on this side, 3 on the other side. And most of you only ever had 1 or 2 men up here at a time. The longest the man stood up here was almost 7 years, and the shortest was less than 3 months. And once you brought them up the stairs, they would not go back down alive. And inside your cells, the shower in the back corner over here. Well, the exercise these men were allowed was an hour a day inside the bullpen in front of the cells. And this is the top of our gallows. Right underneath this, we have the water bucket and the mechanisms I showed you folks at the beginning. When they first added the gas chamber in, they tore up everything underneath there and turned that into a tool shed. So all that remains of the original gallows is the bolt in the center of the ceiling. That is where the noose would hang. And the trapdoor has been cemented shut. But it doesn't matter how many people I pack in here, most won't stand up. And this is our gas chamber. Take a moment to show you how this thing works. If you look underneath the chair, you should see a lever moving underneath it. What that would do is drop cyanide tablets into a vat of sulfuric acid, cause a chemical reaction, creating hydrocyanic acid gas. When they put you in here, they strap you to the chair, 1 across the chest and 2 across each arm and each leg. And before they shut the big door in your face, they would tell you to hold your breath. Say that in the hopes that take a big gasp when the gas once it's released. The more gas you breathe in, the faster you'll fall unconscious. So for these men, it took about 15 to 30 seconds to fall unconscious and 2 to 5 minutes to pass away. And once the man is pronounced dead, we neutralize the gas with ammonia from 4 canisters like this one, open up the vents in the very bottom to let fresh air in, and the fan up top suck the neutralized gas out into the Wyoming wind. Now one last thing I want to put out here. There's a hole. There's a hole here in the back of the chamber.
Gee, look,
Nope. Any guesses why that's there?
somebody shot a hole in it.
Nope, nothing that interesting.
Lying through?
That is where the doctor's stethoscope was sealed through and strapped to the man's chest.
Oh.
The execution up here was witnessed by the warden, 2 doctors, and a chemist. We had a special stethoscope with 2 ends. Both doctors were listening. Both had to say that he no longer heard a heartbeat for the man who pronounced dead. So any questions on this?
I'm surprised there's someone who died from cyanide.
Basically death by asphyxiation.
Yeah.
Excuse me, get out of the way.
Oh. Didn't anybody consider them alive afterwards?
No. Some were told that once they put the ammonia in, it drip like half an hour.
Still had a heartbeat, oh, so they waited.
Yeah. You're not
To
gonna
make sure.
hold the breath that long.
How many people were killed in this thing?
5.
5.
All set up here? Okay, go ahead and back up, folks.
Back enough.
Yeah, those are pretty, these are pretty nice and orange.
Quick straight for folks up here as well. As mentioned, overcrowding has always been an issue here. And also in 1959, we happened to have no one up here on death row. So they thought they helped the overcrowding a bit by throwing a few of the worst behaved inmates up here, trying to keep the guys contained. What these men were doing were breaking out of their cells at night, going down through the gallows trapdoor, which had not been cemented shut yet, using the tools in the tool shed down there, and were digging a tunnel out to the west wall. Don't know how long they were digging, but do know one day they started hitting something hard. Kept hitting it, couldn't figure out what it was, and couldn't get through it. Well, the man got tired of it, so came back to his cell, grabbed a match, back down the tunnel, lit the match seemed to have been hitting. They had been striking our gas line.
Oh.
Blew up their entire tunnel. The warden said it felt like a small earthquake had hit the prison. The men were badly burned, for most parts uninjured though, so we healed them up and returned them to the general population. But they did a huge tunnel, moved us with a ton of dirt. What'd they do with it all?
That's around the toilets?
That's the second most common guess I get. Notice
walked
the, the ceiling is kind of beveled and warped in here. So these guys are doing it, bringing all that dirt up to the gallows trap door, peeling back the pressed tin ceiling and stuffing it up into the attic. So up until after the prison had closed, there was almost a ton of dirt over our heads.
Wow.
When he came to us, he was on a life sentence that they later dropped down to 25 years, and he was a model inmate with one exception. One day in the year 1919, Bill did not show up for dinner count. He was a trustee at the time, so kind of just figured he was out in the factories, helped getting the shirts loaded to be shipped out and sold. But Bill was not helped load, he was being loaded. He had packed himself into a shirt crate, got loaded onto the trucks. The trucks took him down to the railway station. Once he was there, he got out of his crate and hopped on a train heading for Laramie, robbed another train on the way out of Laramie, and was pursued for over a month before they finally caught up to him. Once they finally found him, they shot him while he was unarmed, brought him back here, healed him up, and he served out the rest of his term in good standing. We released him in 1936 on good behavior. Unfortunately, shortly thereafter, he came down with appendicitis that almost killed him, but did recover and married the nurse that had taken care of him, then moved to Laramie, opened the motel, and ran it for over 20 years. Personally, I like to end my tours with the story of Will Carlisle. It's a pretty uplifting one, especially compared to the other stories that I've been focusing here. And a good moral I want to keep in mind, no matter how bad your life is going or how badly you have screwed up, it is never too late to turn it around.